Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are here for day 2 of the Bremen Pokemon Regional Championships, and it is fantastic to be able to start showcasing our top 8 matches. My name is Ben Kiriakou, joined here, of course, by the wonderful David Partington. David, how are you feeling?
Real good, Ben. Thanks for having me once again. Yeah, it's been a really fun day 1 yesterday, and we've seen some really interesting teams and a lot that had of development as well since just 1 week ago that we had regionals. So we could already see the meta changing a little bit, and I think we're going to see a lot of the teams that have been quite good versus what was popular maybe last week in this top 8.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a mix of top 8 matchups to play. Unfortunately, we're only going to be able to show one top 8 match today, followed by, of course, both top 4 matches and on to the finals. On your screen now, you'll see the bracket with all of our players that made it to the top 8. Just in case you missed all the standings from yesterday, we have, of course, Eric Rios versus Giovanni Tonelli. And that match should be very, very interesting. Giovanni versus Richard, both players that we showcased on the stream yesterday. Maurice and Frederick, again, 2 more players that we showcased in day 1 and the final match of our top 8 seeding. Giulio Tarlao versus Luca Lussignoli, which we will be able to show you today.
That's it, exactly. So luckily, these 2 are the only 2 in the top 8 that we haven't actually streamed yesterday. And they've been paired up against each other today. And anyone who was a little bit bored of Kyogre's Ashen, you've got something different for you this time around, that's for sure.
Definitely. And on your screen now, we see Giulio, only a week ago, made it to the final of the Lille Regional Championships over in France and was the runner-up. So wasn't able to clinch the finals in the last one, but maybe he has an opportunity here to take it all the way.
Yeah, and it's the same team, I believe, as well from last week too. So if he's maybe feeling a little bit robbed of the win last week, he's definitely proving himself that he can really make it consistently up to these top levels of higher play. And on the right, we have Luca Lussignoli, also from Italy, and also with a treasure trove of achievements here. 2019 Bolzano Special Event Top 8, another Top 8 in Turin, a Tour Special Event finalist, and the Treviso Special Event champion in 2017. So a lot of people had quite recent achievements, whereas Luca seems to be a little bit more of the veteran side of things, already experimenting a lot with those tap moves that we saw back in 2017 and 2018. So he's been there for when the terrains were first introduced. So who knows, he might even use it to a bit to his advantage today.
He might indeed. And it's a bit strange talking about veteran players only going back to 2017, but you do have to remember that's quite a while ago now. It's definitely getting on. We also, of course, as with day 1, have our poll on the screen for you now. Please do vote in the chat. Show your support for these players as they kick off in the top 8 of this tournament. A lot of pressure on the line. We are at the stage where we have a prize pool available, as well as those all-important championship points to get us to Worlds. So any support you can give these players, I'm sure, will be gratefully received.
They shall be, yes. So a lot of these players are such already good players, and we've had a chat with some of them already after their wins on stream yesterday too. So a lot of them are, I'd say, already got their Worlds invites. They're chasing that day 2, that travel award, for instance, to be in that top percentage of Europe that are able to then get that to Worlds or something, which is a big achievement for a lot of these players. However, we are now heading into team preview, top 8 of the Bremen Regional Championships. And here are the teams. So on Giulio, on the left, we have his Lunodon team, the Porygon 2, Incineroar, Venusaur, and Charizard. And on the right, Luca is bringing the Caloric Shadow Zacian, Gastrodon East, I believe, Incineroar, Thunderous Incarnate, and the Boost.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't have a poll on the stream for which Gastrodon form is the best. I really don't know which one would win that, but Gastrodon East is my personal favorite.
So, East.
I'm glad to be showcasing that. We do also, of course, have quite different teams to the sort of teams that we expect, and I like to see this a little bit more offensive build. And Luca running a similar team to what Emilio Forbes won in the last regional over in the States. And that should be quite interesting to see if he pilots it in a similar way.
I agree. And Luca leads with that Calyrex Shadow, which is a very popular lead. You're guaranteed to be outspeeding everything naturally from the get-go. You can't be faked out, so a really nice option. And the Incineroar allow to those slow pivoting action that it likes to do. Giulio leads with his Venusaur and Lunar. Quite a popular lead, I think, he's been bringing that allows him to do lots of different things here. Say, switching the ground to boost Venusaur speed. Maybe you can switch in the Incineroar and go for a Trick Room. Maybe you can max Venusaur and maybe go for like a max Ooze or something, boost Lunar stuff. So a very versatile lead from both.
But the thing you've got to watch out for, of course, Lunala usually has access to Wide Guard, which would block any damage from Astral Barrage that Calyrex Shadow Rider is so well known for. But of course, Calyrex can go for its Dynamax and just bypass Wide Guard completely, probably picking up a one-hit knockout on Lunala. So, both of these players have to, in some way, feel out their opponents are trying to do. Really make sure that they're not taking a huge disadvantage turn one. And Giulio is doing just that by switching out his Lunala into that Incineroar, an absolutely safe switch.
It is. It's just begging to come in here at the moment. Getting the Intimidate down on the Incineroar. So when Venusaur's going for a Dynamax here, it's going to be able to take that Flare bit a little bit better. Well, so we do see a Dynamax here, actually. And I wasn't paying attention to the character styles here, but yeah, as you said, Ben, there is the Dynamax Calyrex Shadow. So a little bit of a risk if Giulio had maybe switched to the ground and gone for a Sleep Powder into that slot, but potentially unlikely when there's that fake out ever present on Luca's end. So Giulio is instead going for the Dynamax of his own, which we now know is that Venusaur. So it's going to be able to take a Calyrex Shadow attack, even if it's a Psychic move. However, it remains to be seen what these moves are going to be.
It does indeed. Gmax Fine Lash would never go amiss in this sort of matchup, especially with the only Grass-type Pokemon on Luca's side of the field being that Whimsicott. Fake out, critical hit. We're starting turn one. We've got the critical hits starting to come out already. Max Phantasm from that Calyrex Shadow Rider going into the Incineroar, doing actually a pretty good amount of damage overall, dropping the defenses most importantly, I think. And the G-Max Fine Lash does go into Calyrex. Calyrex really taking that like a champ. I think it's quite easy to think of Calyrex as a Pokemon that doesn't take too many hits, because normally it gets hits for 4 times super effective, but especially when it's in that Dynamax form, it really can take a hit.
It does. Now, I think we've seen Giulio with Venusaur previously saying last week, if you're watching the Leal's regional, is that he used it very much as the support Pokemon here. So we see no Life Orb on Venusaur, for instance, either. He didn't Dynamax it very often. So he's really made a great play here and actually covered so many options. He's covered the fact that if Luke had stayed in just Astral Barrage by switching in the Incineroar, and he's covered the fact that they may go for a Max Mindstorm if it has the Psychic move, and he's covered for the fact that the Max Phantasm. So either way, Giulio really gets something out of this, and setting up that Vine Lash is going to be really good, especially early on in the game where you know you're going to make most of those 4 turns.
But not quite as many making the most of it when the Whimsicott is on the field, as we've just seen the Incineroar coming out for that. Oh my god! Coming out for that Incineroar just to take a G-Max. In fact, a Max Ooze coming out from this Venusaur, boosting up the special attack of the Venusaur and the Incineroar. Incineroar following up with a Throat Chop, going into that Max Guard, but what a play from Giulio, knocking out that Whimsicott on turn 1. And now, if Giulio has the Groudon in the back, there's not really going to be too much on Luca's side of the field now that he's Dynamaxed the Calyrex to contest that sort of speed control.
Indeed. And now, like, I can get what Luca's going for there, because Incineroar is like such a prime target for a Max Quake, because you can get the special defense boost, which makes you able to take Calyrex Shadow's attacks even better. However, I'm not even sure if Giulio actually has the Max Quake on his Venusaur. Like, we've seen the Ooze, we've seen the Grass type attack. It's definitely got Sleep Powder, and if it's anything like last week, he's got Protect too. So you may not. So that may have not even been a read on Giulio's end, but still, Incineroar can often take that hit. Often has the Shuck Berry anyway. So I think that even with if you have the Quake, the Ooze is still a really nice play because you can go into that third turn with even more damage output and secure the KO on an Incineroar after that anyway. So, and it happens to just cover the Whimsicott switch. So a really great KO for Julio.
All in all, absolutely fantastic for Giulio. As we see the Groudon coming in from the Incineroar, capitalizing on that speed advantage. But no, not like last week. We see the Max Flare coming in on that Zacian, doing about 25% roughly from the Max Flare through the Protect, which means it probably would have picked up the one-hit knockout if Luca hadn't correctly protected it. Now we see the Max Phantasm, should I say, from the Calyrex going into that Groudon on the switch and doing really quite good amounts of damage and dropping the defense stat, which if this Venusaur wasn't pressuring the Zacian on Luca's side of the field, would be fantastic for Luca's Zacian because it would be able to absolutely go to town.
Yeah, absolutely would. So Zacian still takes a lot of damage here, which puts it in range of, say, like a -1 attack Groudon Precipice Blades or just a Moonlight Beam from Lunala. So it's ready now to just have one attack thrown at it to be able to go down. But Luca preserves his Zacian, switches out into the Incineroar, which probably does like coming in on the Groudon and that Venusaur. Calyrex is still in a decent position to be able to get off some attacks here, but Venusaur in the sun, uncontested, there's no Kyogre to switch it out. It can go for whatever move it likes right now. But the Calyrex Shadow does protect from Venusaur's incoming Weather Ball.
Yeah, Weather Ball going into the Incineroar instead. I think correctly targeting that Zacian slot and keeping it under pressure. You know that the Precipice Blades can follow it up from the ground, and that's exactly what's happening. Does hit its mark going into the Incineroar. No Shucker Berry activation here, and the Incineroar is going to be going back to Luca. Only the Calyrex and the Zacian left on Luca's side, and all Pokemon on Giulio's side of the field are overall pretty healthy.
They are, yes. Everything is kicking about back there, ready to like come in and do some work. Luca does now have two very fast Pokemon that are on the field, but this Venusaur is trained speedy, which it usually is. It's still going to be outspeeding both of these Pokemon. Now we've seen the Weather Ball, which is going to be a really safe option into that Calyrex, just protected, just Weather Ball straight into there, and then Groudon can maybe go for a safer fire move if Luca has it. Seymour is able to come in this time, which is, again, a very nice option to come in here in case Luca gets any sort of attack, so it could be speeding me.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there. So protecting the Calyrex is just happens. No reason really not to go for that Weather Ball. Maybe predicting may double protect. Sometimes that's the way the players like to make. No protects coming out from Luca. Just the Weather Ball going into the Calyrex is going to pick up the knockout when you played. Likewise, it looks like it's going to pick up the knockout on this Venusaur without too much trouble. Of course, with its lower stages, a lot of defense following all the movement phantasms from the Calyrex. But now this Incineroar and presumably Groudon, but equally could be Lunala coming out onto the field. Lunala has the accurate attacks out of the two Pokemon options that are remaining. Are probably pretty easily going to knock out this Zacian. Because Zacian can only target one thing at a time, and both things are doing quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, and if you see Luca does go for the forfeit here, I mean, from Giulio there, you could just do a simple fake out and then maybe a Trick Room because Zacian's probably going to protect from the fake out. And then you can go for double first turn, one from going for it. So it makes sense to go for the forfeit, reserve any information you might have, and just take game two and see what you can do. So it was interesting seeing how game one, both players led with really some great leads that offered them a lot of different options. Yep. We've yet to see how much Calyrex Shadow can do yet because we've only really seen Protect and presumably Astral Barrage. But Calyrex Shadow gets options across the board with so many supportive moves like Will-O-Wisp and Taunt or Trick Room or I don't know, there's so much it can do.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe something come out from that side at the moment. Possibly not a psychic wealth, otherwise we may have seen it.
Yeah, and I think, it really goes to show how different these turns can likely play out based on what those players do in that scenario. I mean, if you look at the game one scenario where Lunala switched out for Incineroar. If it doesn't switch out to Incineroar, it probably gets KO'd from that move. But equally, what if the Incineroar came in and it was just an Astral Barrage? I think one of the problems that Luca had in that game is that he went really committed to the Lunala not switching out. And that could have been great. It's the call that you have to make in these sort of top 8 games where your opponent has spent the evening probably preparing and figuring out a game plan for you. And, you've got to figure out how you're going to react to that and give yourself the best opportunity to win. Fortunately, what kind of happened is Luca started spinning his wheels a little bit where went for that offensive turn 1 and couldn't really capitalize it because the Zacian couldn't take advantage so much of the defense drop from Max Phantasm. The Whimsicott didn't get its tailwind going. And so, I think this game, we may see similar leads because, as you said, David, they give so many options. But I think it's going to be a completely different game.
I think so too. So we've seen how Incineroar was the lead there for Luca, and we haven't seen the Sugar Berry, so I'm wondering whether it's the safety goggles actually on that Incineroar, which would be a great bring into Giulio's Venusaur. We've seen Giulio, obviously he didn't go for the sleep powder really at all in that game, possibly fearing the potential to goggles somewhere around that team. Maybe on the Thunderous, maybe on the Incineroar as we saw. We also saw the Whimsicott doesn't have a focus dash because it went down straight away to that Nexus, so it's likely on the Calyrex Shadow. So we haven't also seen the Whimsicott item either. So that could be like a Berry Berry, maybe it's Drew Reject Button. So Lucas still probably has a lot of tricks up his sleeve that he might be able to use if he's preserved his information up on day 1.
Yeah, indeed. And now we're getting into this game 2. An adjustment from Luca, bringing in that Zacian combined with that Calyrex Shadow Rider, but no adjustment from Giulio, bringing that Venusaur, that Lunala. We were just talking about how the Zacian wasn't able to take advantage of the Max Phantasms. Well, this time, if he's going for it, it's on the field, it's ready to go. It's not going to probably be knocked out this turn unless the Groudon switches in for the Lunala. It's really the only scenario where the Zacian is under any pressure whatsoever. And if that doesn't happen, then Luca's got the opportunity to do lots and lots of damage.
Yeah, as you say, Zacian is under quite a bit of threat there because it could be sleep powdered, it could be Weather Ball with the Groudon switching in, or the Max Flare, whereas Calyrex Shadow with the Lightning Focus Dash is going to be able to take any sort of game. Worst case scenario, Giulio hits the sleep powder and splits. So it's got an option to be able to do something here, maybe an Astral Barrage. And if Giulio wide guards, then it's going to a null and void turn. Lugar spending its turn to spend out Calyrex Shadow's turn and get health and use. So not too much to happen there. So it's using Sleep Powder into what was the Zacian, and it's so great by.
Yeah, exactly. It's this Astral Barrage goes into the Venusaur, goes into the Groudon, and cause pretty respectable damage to both certainly Venusaur, and that's not feeling all too healthy at the moment. Now with that safety goggles in place, we know that the intimidation came onto the Groudon because the Incineroar switched in after the Groudon. And that Incineroar is probably feeling pretty good to be able to just go for an attack into Venusaur and try to knock it out. If the Venusaur goes down, there's not a lot of speed control on Giulio's side of the field that's quick to execute. It's not like a Whimsicott Tailwind where you can just it's there, it's ready to go, and your Pokemon are taking advantage of it. He has to go for something like Trick. Trick Room is a negative priority move that takes time to set up, and you have to take damage, usually, in order to do so.
Unfortunately, it does. But interestingly, Giulio goes for Dynamax on his Gigantamax Venusaur, which is already quite at low health at the moment. So he's obviously wanting to maybe pick up a KO on something here, or be able to give maybe his Groudon a boost if we do cease to sort of move up. We don't have a Max Quake there because we've seen the Sleep Powder, we've seen the Ooze, the Weather Ball, and the Grass type attack. So maybe Giulio wants to get up to Vine Lash here to be able to chip things away, put everything in range of what he has in the back.
Yep.
But Luca now responds with the Dynamax on his own Calyrex Shadow here, just like last time. Venus will go for the Max Guard, actually, which I like that play, actually. Fake Out is protected, so maybe a Flare Blitz seems trying to catch there too. But it's just the Max Phantasm, so it makes a really nice play going for that. So risky for sure, because those attacks could have easily gone into Groudon. But Cyril just looks up 3 hit points from this Precipice Blade that does double connect. So we're going to next turn. Venus was still the fastest, but Luca made an excellent play.
He really did, and that Incineroar survival was absolutely clutch because now it can leave the field and come back later, bringing that Intimidate onto the Groudon again. I'm sure Luca will appreciate that. G-Max Fly Lash coming in, but coming into the wrong slot, some might argue. That Gastrodon switching in on the upper slot for Luca does a respectable amount of damage, but now replying with the Max Phantasm, knocking out that Venusaur and having that Venusaur leaving the field. So Luca getting a little bit more value out of his Dynamax, certainly than last game, and getting that Grim Nay boost. I'm kind of wondering now if the Groudon being KO range from a Max Phantasm at +1. We're never going to find out in this game, because now Precipice Blades does indeed connect on both the Gastrodon and the Calyrex, and knocks out the Calyrex quite handily by the looks of things.
Very so. And we've seen Luca switch up the Whimsicott for the Gastrodon for this match, which is really interesting, because there's no water type on Giulio's end. So maybe expecting maybe a more Trick Room oriented game on Giulio's end, so bringing the slow Gastrodon that he can use to outpace that Trick Room, maybe throw a few yawns around. But that hasn't actually ended up going out, but probably to Luca's favor, actually, because he was able to make a lot of use out of this Calyrex Shadow, but to throw those back to Phantasms, get a lot of KOs, especially on Giulio's Venusaur too. So now that Lunala is out here, Giulio may have the option of going for the Trick Room again, but there is that Gastrodon to contend him, so if you can maybe go for a Protect, the Trick Room goes up, Gastrodon is then in the position to throw out maybe some Yawns, maybe an Ice Beam. So it's still in either player's court here, 3-3, definitely not as one-sided as last game.
No, and I feel like it's quite hard to set a Trick Room as well in front of the Gastrodon because of those Yawns, because of the pressure that Earth Power is going to put on Incineroar, which is just joined the field. Really nice play here from Giulio, just making sure that Groudon looked like it was kind of at risk of being knocked out from Behemoth Blade, making sure that's safe. Getting the Moonblast Beam off as well onto whatever Giulio wants to target. But then Gastrodon actually, even in range from a G-Max Fine Lash or just knock it straight down, and now the Trick Room's looking great. Even though that Zacian has managed to get its substitute up, one of the great things about Incineroar, that's been so prevalent in this format, is Parting Shot. Being a sound-based move, doesn't care about that substitute. Could just go for a Parting Shot intervalization and continue to reduce its effect.
You can. Yes, who'd have thought like Incineroar is going to be a good Pokemon in this format. So, yes, Zacian can now go for an attack. The substitute is up. It could be a Sacred Sword into the Incineroar here. Probably doing about 50%. Or it could like chip off away the Shadow Shield from that Lunala and then follow up the Throat Chop. But we do see Giulio's Incineroar does outspeed and go for the Fake Out into Luca's Incineroar, which possibly was going for a Fake Out of its own, but Giulio having the fast Incineroar looks like it's really key here.
Yeah, it definitely was. And now, Sacred Sword going into the Incineroar, not doing too much damage as Trick Room goes up. That Trick Room looking absolutely lovely in this position. Sunlight Fade's not really going to make too much of an impact now. The last turn, G-Max Fine Lash is attacking that Zacian. Only left on 80 hit points now. A combination of Flare Blitz and Moon's Ice Beam is surely enough to knock out this Zacian and take the game one, sending Giulio Tarlao into the top 4.
Most likely, yes, unless we see some sort of incredibly unheard of move from this Zacian. I believe Giulio is probably going to take this. Yeah, and here's the follow-up Moongeist Beam, which should get the KO. That Gastrodon, I feel like if it was a bit more bulky, it might be able to live that Moongeist Beam or something. I feel like that was probably quite a close hit. So, 100 it survived. It maybe got off the Yawns. Maybe would have had a slightly closer game. But still, really well played to Giulio. He really played tools out, and he stuck with what he knew. That Venusaur Lunala League was strong. We saw how many options he could have from it, and all the different ways. Obviously, he still maxed his Venusaur, got off that Vine Lash, and went down pretty quickly after that, not doing too much. But it was enough to put down everything in chip range so that Moongeist Beam could just pick up with it.
Yeah, and I think, there's the